Skyscraper window cleaners of Reddit. What is most bizarre thing you've ever seen on the job? Okay, so not exactly what OP was asking for, but a funny story nonetheless. I was in medical school on my psychiatry rotation at the local VA hospital. We're in the 6th floor inpatient psych unit seeing a guy with schizoaffective disorder. We were asking him about any hallucinations or delusions he may have been having. And he tells us that he was seeing ropes outside his window and was worried people were trying to get into his room. Seeing that there were clearly no ropes outside his window, we made note of his persistent symptoms and went about our rounds. About half an hour later we get to another patient's room and we suddenly see ropes dropping from the roof down the side of the building. Turns out the poor guy wasn't hallucinating. They were just cleaning the windows. Lol. Not a skyscraper cleaner, but the person on the other side of the window. I was using a single occupancy restroom on the 22nd floor of a building that had a floor to ceiling glass window along the side of the toilet. Weird, I know. Anyways, I'm taking a wicked crap, and I was wearing a romper. So sitting there in just a bra, with my romper around my ankles, eating my little heart out, I saw the window washer and was a little startled but thought the windows were tinted, it was fine. Alas, we accidentally made eye contact as I was standing up to wipe my ass. Clearly tinting does not work up close. Could have died. I am not a window washer, but I have seen them outside of my son's hospital room, dressed as superheroes. A story of them visiting our local hospital can be found here. My son was in the hospital and after I spent the night there with him, I went home to shower and do a few things around the house and probably get a proper night's sleep. The next morning I was reading the newspaper and read an article about superhero window washers visiting a children's hospital in Pittsburgh. When I went back down to the hospital I was planning to see if the hospital's administration had seen the article. I guess someone had, because before I go the chance to speak to someone, Spider-Man and Superman were outside our 10th floor room. It was SOOOCOOOL. My son was so excited. Worked as a rope access window cleaner for 10 years. As you'd expect, we see quite a number of titties, which always brightens the day, but its counterpoint is the roughly equal number of terrible guns on display. Always wave and have a chuckle with the kids you see. Their initial shyness and surprise at seeing you is invariably replaced by total glee when you wave them, as never gets old and makes your day. I've witnessed numerous amateur porn shoots, 1 or 2 professional ones, used to regularly do the glass on a flat full of lingerie-clad escorts. But you also see a darker, sadder side of humanitas. Os flats bare of furniture but for a mattress and some clothes. Serial hoarders. Some truly awful drug nests. And also some people who you suspect have seen no one else but you for the week. Every single building roof is littered with bones, birds, small animals etc. as well as nests. Once you've been doing the job for a while, it's 99% drudgery, with the occasional brief distraction of something like the above to keep your brain from turning to jelly. Edit. Forgot to add the dimpled folds of fat which hang over the neglected lady garden of the rotund. Naked occupiers. Derived from the shortening of the term. Oof. Look at the cunt gut on this one. Not as exciting as the other stories, but something I'm blown away by when I'm on ropes is how many people feel guilty about not working when I'm around. When you look into people's workstations you can see that almost no one works. Most people are on Facebook, YouTube or on news sites, but the second they notice me outside the window they quickly switch to an Excel spreadsheet, like they think I'm some kind of productivity spy about to rat them out to management. Keep cruising the internet, people. Don't mind me. And also, pointing to the window and saying you missed a spot isn't funny. Duck you. It was a normal morning and I had just began cleaning windows. I'm cleaning one with the blind down, not really paying attention. I realize that the blind is slowly rising and when it finishes opening I see him. Cricket legend Brett Lee doing yoga. Will never forget that day. Once while cleaning a high-rise apartment, an old lady kindly asked me if I was hungry and proceeded to open her window and hand me a pizza slice. So I sat there, 27 stories up, tangling on my chair and eating pizza. It was a good day. Not a window cleaner, but was caught by one while jerking off. They never cleaned the windows in 9 years of living here and the one day they arrive unannounced. This happens. So embarrassing. Not a window washer, but I was working construction on a new tower. A bunch of guys were meeting up on the 11th floor to start the day. As I come walking up, I can see they are all staring out the window at the tower across the street where this guy is holding up a pair of legs going to town. After the finish is up, another dude stands up and all the old boys start freaking out. They were just watching and enjoying two guys getting down. Mostly just porn on computers during work hours. A few tits. Nothing too ridiculous. 8 men all in an apartment on Reddit simultaneously making this exact post and arguing about how to stage them. I'm not a window cleaner, but my grandfather met my grandma while working as a window washer. He put his phone number right up against the glass of her office and hoped she wrote it down. She did and called, and they've been married for 60 years. I am not a window cleaner, but a paramedic. We got a call once to a suicidal window cleaner guy once. We could see what was going on as we approached. He was swinging around and doing tricks in between each wipe of the window, like giant swinging leaps and who knows what else. The police had him come down and asked him what he was doing, and he said he just really loves his job. So we told him he needs to be safe and left him to go back to work. Friend was fresh out of the shower sitting at her computer desk naked when the window cleaners were at her place. She heard a noise, so she turned around to see 2 men outside her 3rd story window. So she screams and runs into the bathroom to hide. Later she calls the building management to complain, and they tell her that a notice went out and she must not have seen it. Then building management decided to ask the window cleaning service to send those guys to her apartment to knock on the door and apologize to her. Hilariously awkward. Not a skyscraper window washer, but was a janitor who had to wash the windows in a 6-story building as part of my job, so I used a mix of ladders and rappelling down from the roof with a harness to clean the outside windows. One day I was washing the outside windows on the executive floor where all the bosses and higher up employees had their offices. I was done with one window, so I moved to the next window and looked in and saw the CEO of the company snorting something in his office with the door locked and the lights off. He looked up and saw me in the window, and we made an uncomfortable eye contact for about 15 seconds. Then I just pretended I saw nothing and kept washing the windows. Never spoke a word about it to him or anyone in the office, but the last day I worked there he gave me a farewell card with $200 in it and a free solar powered portable phone charger that the company produced and sold. Well, I was washing the outside of the windows at the group home I work at. State was coming by later that week and I was super bored. I walk up to one of my dude's bedroom windows to wash it off, and apparently he hears me outside somehow, even though he had his radio turned up to about 9,000, like he always does. He rips up his blinds, totes naked, and starts slapping himself repeatedly in the forehead and screaming. This was pretty normal for him, but it's definitely the strangest thing I've ever seen so far in my life while washing a window. I'm not sure why, but while I was working on the 47th floor, the window washers had to open a window. It was like a wind tunnel. Papers were blowing all over the place. We had just gotten down to the 17th floor of a 30-story apartment building next to Rittenhouse Square in Philadelphia when I realized that I had to take a massive hit. It was pretty much out of the question to take the scaffolding all the way down to the 1st floor and back up to the 17th so I could poop. It would just take too long. Lucky for me, the apartments had no residents yet, so I climbed in from the balcony and did my business in one of the toilets. Lucky for me, the apartments had no residents yet, so there was no toilet paper. Wound up using some of our microfiber towels we had with us and didn't really have a choice but to leave them in the apartment. I am not a window cleaner, but I know a lot of people will probably comment that are not window cleaners but no window cleaners. Man, the one time someone asks a question about my job I don't have anything interesting. Shame. Every time I went by to clean this one dude's apartment window, him and his friend would watch the weirdest porn on his giant ducking TV. They would watch it like they were watching the news or something. I kid you not. When working on a job, a bird flew into the window. AMD, everyone inside was looking dead at me. I later found that they thought I was trying to be funny and get their attention. I don't clean windows, but I work from scaffolding and do rope access work on high-rise and skyscrapers in Nick all the time. It's not that often I see something bizarre, and I'll see into hundreds of apartments a year. so I honestly feel many of the posts in here are made up. Sure, you occasionally see the caught off guard tenant, but if you do see someone, they usually just wave and shut their curtain blind. The most bizarre thing I've seen though has to be when I found a section of loose brick about 15 stories up. I removed them to put them in my satchel as usual and found dozens of used condoms shoved behind the brick. Like, how the duck? I still have no idea to this day. One day I was playing some game on my PC when some guy knocked on my window. I opened it. He asked if I could plug in an extension cord into a wall socket. I took the cable, plugged it in and sat back down at the PC. Moments later I remembered that I was on the 4th floor and did a wait a second head turn. As it turns out, one of my neighbors hired a crew with a boom lift to inspect and do any necessary repairs on the outside of our apartment block. My condo building was having the windows cleaned. Being a teenager, I forgot. I was in my room with my girlfriend at the time. I start hearing this noise and think that's weird. There's no floor above us. So I stop and start turning my head. I'm still on top of her when bam, ladder appears at my window. Middle-aged window cleaner sees us, starts laughing. I jump up naked, covering myself, and run for the remote for the automatic blinds. Press the button, and stood there in front of the cleaner while my blinds slowly VVVVVRRRRRRRRR. I stand there buck naked for a good minute while the cleaner and my GF laugh their asses off. I was once cleaning a skyscraper where I know nearly everyone that works there. I saw a job interviewer having gay sex with another guy, probably someone he interviewed. The interviewer, who is straight, married and has kids, gave me $500 not to tell anyone. Easiest money I ever made.